going to go straight, because I've got you all here, we're going to go straight into the Ruby Hero Awards. And so I introduce to you Greg Pollock.
All right, we'll give us a second here. We got to get some of these awards out. But let me give you a quick rundown. For those of you, because there's a lot of new people here this year, we need to talk about the Ruby Hero Awards and why we have Ruby Hero Awards. So really, it started out with doing some podcasting. I started out with doing the Rails Envy podcast, and then came the Ruby 5 podcast, which we still do on a weekly basis, talking about the latest news in the Ruby and Rails community. And what we started to realize is there are some people in this community that give and give and give some more, like Aaron here. Let's give a real quick round of applause for Aaron here. All right.
I am Greg's helper.
He's helping me out today. But, right, so we need a way to give back to these people that give and give and give, that go above and beyond, that we talk about week after week on the podcast. So we created the Ruby Hero Awards, which is just our opportunity to give some people a little more recognition by giving them some awards, bringing them up on stage, and giving them the round of applause that they deserve. Over the years, we started out, so here's some of the previous Ruby Heroes. So we've done this is the 5th year. Started out with some of these guys. Now, the thing you have to keep in mind when you look at this list of people is that many of them were not well known at all, or maybe just a little bit, when they were given the awards. And since then, they've gone on to do amazing things. So you can see that here we had 2009 Ruby Heroes, and 2010 Ruby Heroes, and then the 2011 Ruby Heroes. So these are the guys that really do a lot for our community and help move it forward and make progress. All right. So how does this whole system work? Well, a couple months ago, in case you weren't aware, we put up this website called rubyheroes.com, as we do every year, and we accept nominations. Anybody can go on there, accept a nomination, and cast their vote for a certain person. We don't want this to be a popularity contest. So what I do is I go back to I want to talk about this first. So last year, this was kind of interesting too. We had 465 nominations. This year, we had 834 nominations. That's pretty awesome. That tells me that our community is obviously growing in a good way. So once we have these nominations, we then go back to the Ruby Heroes. We've got a mailing list. We go back to them, and I give them some information about who got the most votes on there, but then we sort of have a discussion. Who on this list deserves it the most, and who on this list did the most amazing things, and who do you guys think it deserves? So we have a discussion between all the Ruby Heroes, and they get to say who they want, and based on that, we end up with 6 people. So there are 6 people that are getting awards tonight, and with any luck, they should all be here. We'll see. All right. Oh, but before I get into it, before we start doing the thing, I want to say 2 quick things. First of all, this is all about showing your appreciation, right? And when it comes to the whole sort of curiosity versus suspicion thing, the reason why a lot of these heroes start to feel a little like there's too many people that are suspicious is because of the vocal minority. There's this minority of people, the 1%, that maybe isn't happy with the stuff that they do or the way that they're doing that, and they speak out, sometimes a lot louder than the people that are really happy with the work that they're doing. So I highly encourage you, everybody here, if you see somebody in the hallway that has done an open source project or taught you something or helped you on IRC or on a mailing list, please do me a favor and tell them thank you. You really helped me out that one time with your library or helping me out on the mailing list, and I really appreciate it, right? That's how we counteract some of the vocal minority that sometimes speaks a lot louder than everybody else. So we can keep people doing great things and get more heroes. All right, I have to thank our sponsors. So Code School helped pay for the awards. We're also running the beginner track over there. I noticed a lot of people here don't seem to know about this, so I thought I'd mention Rails best practices we put out last year. We did a tutorial here at RailsConf last year, and that's a thing from Code School. for if you have any developers out there that need to be familiar with Rails best practices. I also need to thank these guys. There's this French conference happening in Lyon. They helped us with these. They grabbed some awesome Ruby Hero t-shirts for us, so the Ruby Heroes get t-shirts this year. Kind of cool. And all right, so if I call your name and you're a Ruby hero, here's the spiel. You're going to come up here. We're going to shake hands with Aaron. You're going to get your award, and you're probably going to stand about here because you have to stay up on stage because at the very end we have to have the group picture, of course. Right? Okay. So let's jump into it. So our first hero has contributed to some pretty well-known Ruby libraries. First of all, he contributed a lot to Rack. He contributed a great deal to Rubinius, and he recently became the maintainer of Sinatra. And I've heard great things about this person, him helping out people on the mailing list, people on IRC, and I'm going to be sharing you guys some quotes that we got from people who casted their nominations. Here was one about this guy that I thought was worth putting in here. I'll let you guys read that. Pretty awesome compliment. He also recently put out, was a co-author of the Sinatra book. He also joined the Travis CI team. The person that I'm talking about, and give him a big round of applause, is Konstantin Haase. There you go. Congratulations. All right. All right. The next guy has put out a ton of open source libraries, starting with an older one called Revactor. He also put out something called Cool.io, which I want to point out something really cool about this webpage. This is the way you should do a README. Check this out. Under a quick tour. Now wait for it. Here's the best part. Let's write an event-driven echo server. That's the way to do it. Cool.io also became a Celluloid.io. He also created new I/O for Ruby, Dcell, Rhea, which is a Ruby-like scripting language for the Erlang virtual machine. Just sounds awesome, doesn't it? He's got a great blog. He's been putting out some great blog posts, which we've been covering on Ruby 5. Oh yeah, and here's a cool quote. There we go. That somebody said about him. Yeah. So the person I'm talking about, of course, is Tony Arcieri. Congratulations. There you go. All right, so the next person that we're going to need to talk about here helped a lot with the JRuby project, where she worked on the embedding APIs, helping more and more Java users to embed Ruby into their Java applications. She also helps maintain Nokogiri, specifically the JRuby part of Nokogiri. So if you use JRuby and use Nokogiri, you're using her code. She also has a killer blog post, which we've also covered on Ruby 5, some of the stuff that she's put out. The person that I'm talking about is Yoko Harada. Congratulations. All right. The last three have actually been around in the Ruby community for a while, but they've continuously dedicated themselves over the years to helping out our community. The first one made a huge impact in the world of Rails internationalization. if you've worked with the Globalize, the Rails I18N gem, and in September 2007, he helped get together with a bunch of other people that were also cared about Rails internationalization, and they wanted to figure out how they could build internationalization into Rails. It was a big group effort, and in November 2008, Rails 2.2 was released with internationalization. This guy also even wrote the internationalization guide, which I thought was pretty neat. And in case you're not familiar, I know there's a lot of new people here. I thought I'd give a quick tutorial. Internationalization I18N, right? Because it takes too long to type out. But then I was thinking, how come we don't use this convention more in Ruby and Rails? So I'm going to announce my vote today. Continuous integration C19N. I don't know. I thought it's that much better than internationalization, just by one. So talking about C19N, this guy is one of the co-founders of the Travis CI project, which was described in a nomination as Travis will do for testing what GitHub did for code, right? Or should this be Travis will do for C19N what GitHub did to code, right? The person I'm talking about here, of course, is Sven Fuchs. Congratulations. Cool. I pronounced his name right. Didn't I get it? Did I get it? Did I get it right, Sven? Did I pronounce it right?
You did it right this time.
Sweet! You used to make fun of us because on the Rails Envy podcast, we would do something like this. So you can get the idea. Which hopefully, hopefully we got it right this time. So the next person has been on the Ruby and Rails community for, like I said, a good time. But what he's been amazing is with the amount of support that he's lent to people, to new people in the community, on IRC, on mailing lists, on Stack Overflow. And I'm going to give you one example of this. I went onto the Google group for Ruby on Rails Talk, which we moved over to Google in August 2006. So here's what it looks like from top to bottom, the top contributors of Ruby on Rails. So that's the top one is Colin Law. The guy I'm about to announce, yeah, that's kind of impressive. I went back and I noticed when I was searching through my mail for his name that like way back in 2009 he answered one of my questions. I was like, whoa, he's everywhere. He's been doing this for years. The person that I'm talking about also contributed to lots of open source projects. And the person I'm talking about is Frederick Chung. Let's give him a round of applause. Congratulations, thank you. All right, so the last Ruby hero, again, has been somebody who's been in the community for a long time, and his name comes up almost every year when we do Ruby Heroes, when we're talking about who deserves an award. And I was really happy that this year we finally got enough people to push him forward, because he's just done so much work over the years to help our community, maintaining two, I think, of some of the most important Ruby projects. The first one is, of course, RDoc, pretty important for documentation in Ruby. The second one is Ruby Gems, or should I say, Ruby Gems, right? Anyways. So he's helped. I've got some old Ruby folk jokes in here. So. Right, he's helped out with Ruby Gems. We cover him a lot in the podcast, says he's got a great blog, talks about all these great releases and new features he's adding to these libraries that we all use. He's got a fantastic blog. Oh, and like I said, he even has been helping out with the Ruby documentation. So more recently, helped with the Ruby documentation challenge with Ruby 193, which led to the Ruby documentation project to get more documentation inside Ruby. Recently, he joined the Mendicant University and is helping out with that. And I recently found this awesome tutorial he did on his blog. I dug deep enough and I figured out how to use Ruby on Render Ring. Oh yeah, and get this, you only need Ruby 1.8.1 or newer. I'm totally stoked. All right. More like Ruby old guy humor, I need to stop. So anyways, let's see. Oh, great blog, I mentioned that before. The person that I'm talking about, as you can see here, is Eric Hodel. Let's give him a round of applause. All right. Oh, thank you. Here, take that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
All right. All right. Well, let's get them all together over here, and let's do one more round of applause for the 2012 Ruby Heroes. All right. All right. All right, well, that's all I've got. Don't forget to give your thanks to these guys and everybody else you see at the conference that has contributed to making your life a better place as a programmer. Thank you.